Welcome everyone to episode 170 of Just Joshing. I am your host Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff and podcasts too, and today my guest is the third member of the Pulp Musketeers, Susan Pieters, editor of Pulp Literature magazine. Susan, of the three, Mel Anastasio, J.M. Landos, is probably the quietest one, but she was really sweet. She was a lot of fun to talk to, and we're going to get to that conversation really, really quick. I want to talk a little bit about what happened to me last weekend. Last weekend, I was a podcaster for the Sweet and Sultry Summer event, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't know what to expect. I'm not a romance guy by any stretch of the imagination. No disrespect to anyone that is in the romance industry, especially after this weekend. So one of the things about what I do, and one of the things I keep learning over and over and over and over again doing this podcast is, I don't have the luxury to judge. And what I mean by that is, in order to get the guests I have and the people I meet on my show, I had to have let go of a lot of my biases and preconceptions. I have to have an open mind. Once upon a time, when I was a younger person, I met a college professor on a bus stop. I remember this, and we just started talking about life, liberty, and everything. He gave me one of the nicest compliments I think I've ever gotten, and that was this: I have rarely met a teenager this open-minded, and I've tried to maintain that in my life, that open-mindedness to hear and understand. But as I've gotten older, this has gotten easier in some ways and harder in others. And just basically all this to generally say that I had a really good time. When you let go of your own preconceptions, you can find joy in all kinds of people. And everybody I interviewed was a hoot. Like Kate Edwards and Sasha White, they made me blush like to death. It was hilarious. I got flashed by Keely Kamikaze. That was a really cool conversation, and I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be part one. Mel V was hilarious. I loved how she just cracked up. It was so fun to have her on the show. It was just a riot. Shelley Cassian, I think, has a bit of a crush on me. I'm not sure, but I think she does. Katie O'Connor was a lot of fun too. I got to talk to a whole bunch of really cool people for that event, and it was a really good thing. MJ and Colette, you rock. You're awesome, and I just want to publicly say here, thank you for having me on your event, and I hope to be there for next year. All right, let's get to this conversation. Quarter on, like I just did.
Okay.
If you got anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Make it good?
Make it good. I mean, look. I mean, come on. I mean, everybody's like, I didn't do. No. We are now recording. We are live. We are.
This will go over the universe.
This will go over
and
ever. So
my great grandchildren will remember this moment.
Exactly. So, okay. At the very least, something beyond clothing and baby seal. That's all I ask.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Josh?
I've had a lot of fun being very silly all day long, with the exception of my panel. That was
serious.
It was brutal.
Brutal.
It was brutal. I never had a panel where one person took just dominated and the moderator did nothing about it.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It happens.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that experience at some point.
Yeah.
Today was my turn.
And now you know when you're a moderator, you're not going to let that happen.
When I'm a moderator, I'm going to have a shock stick. It's like, and you're good. No. Yeah, you're good. Excellent.
Yeah. Repeatedly putting the timer on your cell phone works too. Then it keeps going off. Oh, you're, time's up. Yeah.
Time's up, get out.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I can't say that, can I?
That's okay. No names. We didn't mention any names.
No, we can't mention any names. But so you are the third member of the Pulp Musketeers.
Yes, I am the third member.
The third member. I've had Mel.
Yeah.
I've had JM.
Yeah.
So, what is your role in pulp literature? What was your part of this nefarious concoction that is this night?
Yes, I was part of that little beer drinking session that inspired us to do more than we bit off more than we could chew, I'm sure, but we seem to be managing this fifth year, so yeah.
Well, never let not knowing what you're doing get in the way of anything.
That's right. Yeah. Learn by doing. Yep.
Actually, it's super true. It's good. It's actually the best advice.
Yes, it is the best advice. Yeah, that was my college's motto: was learn by doing. It was
Really?
very hands-on school. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I certainly consider my time on the magazine to be worth an MFA. You know.
Oh yeah, I know.
Hands-on.
Actually, probably school would be a cakewalk after everything you guys have done. I'm not no disrespect to any school, but it's
exactly. The fear level too. When you go to school, you respect your teacher and you try to please them, and you want a grade, and most of the time, or you can write them off. But the actual world of putting together things and publishing them and trying to sell them, it gives you a different perspective for sure.
Oh no, well, you don't get graded. Like there's no A or B or C or D. There is, did you sell or didn't you sell? And that is the end all.
That is the grade. Yeah, that is the and I think for some people the numbers really matter, and for some people the numbers don't matter so much. It's the quality or the reviews or the awards they might want to get.
In my particular, I was talking about this earlier with somebody. Like okay, if you look at my books over here, they are not traditional books in the traditional sense. Not because they're not books. I did epic poetry. Who does epic poetry, right? So.
A few Greeks do.
Yeah, exactly.
Some Victorians do.
Coleridge did, and he was fantastic. But I mean, the point is, it's a unique thing.
It is.
So,
and it's a worthy cause.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, I know too, because it is such a unique experience.
Yeah.
That it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody. You have to get over that.
Yeah, exactly. But
see, that is an interesting point, because in college there's this assumption that the teacher is everybody, and if you please the teacher, you get a good grade, and that's some universal mark. When actually, it's one person's opinion of what you write.
Absolutely, no, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I appreciate my publisher. I actually, like I say, I got a publisher to actually publish it,
nice.
and Justine, you're awesome, and I always say you're awesome. But I better say that, she might beat me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe she's
Yeah. So, but I mean, that when you create something that's really like a unique thing, like I did.
Yes.
You recognize that you might be sacrificing sales, at least initially.
Yes.
Now, the interesting thing about something like what I'm doing, because it's so unique, if it does catch on, it really does catch on.
Right.
Because there's nothing like it.
You're that guy.
You're that guy. But the flip side is I'm taking a big risk doing that.
Yeah, it's a lot of time investment and a lot of.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I mean, and I know that going in. Now, because I don't really care about awards. I care, at the end of the day, it's an award. If an award helps me get, it's nice and stuff like that. If an award helped me get that, I mean, if I was nominated for the Aurora tomorrow, I would be very honored to be nominated for the Aurora. But I wouldn't consider it the end all or be all. I'm just like, it's nice that I was recognized. It's really cool.
Right. Yeah.
It really is an honor to be nominated, and it's not cliche. So I'm not saying that.
Yes. No, it always is an honor.
No. Yeah. But at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not my goal.
Yeah. And that's good to know what your goal is as a writer, because a lot of people go into this not being clear. They just have big dreams and hopes, and it's all this vague cloud of fame, and most people walk into writing, and the reality is it's a lot of hard work, and like you say, it's choices and finding your spot, your niche, your specific voice, and
the long and short of it, who are you?
Yeah, who are you? I like that question.
A sale is really answering three questions, and even a pitch is really answering. It's almost the same three questions. The first question is, who are you? Sales business, who are you? What do you offer? Why should I care?
Yeah.
Those are the three questions a sale asks. And if you can answer all three of those questions, you have interest, right? Now, a story pitch. What's your story? Who are your characters? What's your story? Why should I care? You answer those three questions well.
Yeah. I like the why should you care thing, because that's at the beginning of every good story. You have to make the reader care.
Absolutely.
About the character, about something that's at risk, something's wrong.
There has to be tension.
There has to be tension, and sometimes when it's even kind of like a boring setup, if the writing is so good that it's beautiful, like say we're doing poetry, I'm not sure I haven't read your work, But
It's amazing.
It's amazing, that beautiful poetry that you write. But if the writing is so spot on that I can identify with that author or identify with that scene, or I'm hungry for that beautiful image and language, that makes me care too. So there's a lot of ways.
Well, everybody's a little different. Like language can be incredibly flowery and beautiful and technically, like I look at Stephen King. He might be the most technically sound author out there. Like his prose is so clean. Like that, like maybe Asimov was better. And there's not a big.
I have a hard time. I try, especially not recorded. I would never throw out names of like. But it's good. It's good because these are great authors. But it's so hard because sometimes when I sit down a book, even it's nobody famous. If I'm in the right mood and that book is the right book for me in that moment, it's the best book in the world.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like okay, look, I don't always need to read The Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
I like The Wheel of Time. I love The Wheel of Time, but I don't always need to read it. Sometimes I want Mort by Terry Pratchett.
Yeah.
Completely different kind of book.
Yeah.
Brilliant though, just super brilliant, and it hits that spot
that you need.
That you need in that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody's a little different, right? Some of us like really dig. Like I'm naming authors I like, and
Yes.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that because, frankly, like at least, sadly, all three of the four cases they're dead, and the other guy is just he's beyond belief famous. So it really, I could say he sucked, and it wouldn't matter, right?
That's
right. So, but it's just like there are writing that's really good, but I have to care. If I don't have a personal interest in the character, and sometimes it can be the tone, sometimes it can be the language, sometimes it can be the word choices. But other times, I mean, why? Like what's going on? Why? This is the most flowery reading of a tree I've ever read in my life. But why?
Something must make me care about this tree.
Yeah.
I'm done.
You're done.
I only had 2 people.
Yay.
Good.
Did anyone come by?
Yes, and they have books here that they would like to come. I said 8 o'clock to be back.
Okay, fabulous. Sorry, I interrupted. I forgot you were
that's
doing
okay.
your thing.
No, it's okay. So it's okay. We were interrupted by the amazing Ellen Michelle. I have.
Ellen been interviewed yet?
Not yet. I have threatened to interview her.
Yeah. That threat must come true.
At some point, well, we haven't decided if it's going to be this event or her next event, one or the other. But we are.
One or the other.
We
I
can
promise.
wrap this up and you can.
No. We've already made the arrangement when we can go. So that
okay.
you don't get out that easy.
I don't get that.
Yeah. So. Okay, so we're gonna ask this question. I'm gonna put you on the spot because be fair. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm grasping my hands tightly.
Okay.
Yes.
So all the stories have been accepted in pulp literature so far. If you only had to pick 2, what have been your favorites?
My 2 favorite stories.
So far, I'm being evil.
One time I went to Vija's Kitchen. Have you ever seen Vija's restaurant?
No, I'm not.
In Vancouver. It's famous East Indian restaurant. And we asked him, what dish should we select from the menu? And he said, oh, you asked me this question. It's like asking which of my children is my favorite. I can't answer this question. And he walked off and left us to make our own decision about it. Several years later, we came back to Vija's Kitchen and we said, what do you recommend off the menu? And he said, oh, it's like asking me which of my children is my favorite. He refused to answer this question.
I know. See, I can be really evil here. See, there's a friend of mine as an author. She said there are some points you like some of your children better than others.
There's some days.
Yes.
So you're asking me, it's flavor of the moment. What would I like to sit down at this moment and read from those?
Yeah. Because
volumes?
So we are. I am not, because I know that if I ask this question tomorrow,
yes,
it'll be a different answer.
Okay.
But today is, just for the record, guys, it's May 18th. So May 19th, May 20th,
okay.
May 21st, it might be completely different. And that way she doesn't punish anybody, or especially herself. So it's like, you don't love me that day. It's like, it's okay. Yes. She loved you guys some other day, okay?
That's right. I have to say that the basis of the magazine is the fact that Jen and Mel and I write together on Fridays, and we actually read our rough drafts out to each other. So during the years that we've known each other from way before we did the magazine, we've been working on each other's stories and novels. So if you're asking me for two, I'm going to have to pick Jen's story and Mel's story. Jen's novel is Alenia's Song Overture, and I've seen that from not first drafts, because she started before I knew her, but I've seen that from early editions and worked on it and sweated over it. And I find myself in that book, when she asks me for edits or proofreading, I forget I'm actually proofreading. I get back into the story every time, and it just draws me in. So that's one of my favorites. And then Mel Anastasiou is the Stella Ryman and the Fairmont Manor Mysteries. And Mel is the same way. Her writing is so literary, and yet she makes you, Stella Ryman is a character in an old age home. So you think, how can this woman's life mean anything? How can it be interesting? And yet the writing makes it interesting.
Well, actually, see, this is interesting because my grandmother is, at this point, 82 years old. She just tried Facebook for the first time. In the last year, she's gotten on Facebook, and I admire the hell out of that, because even at 82, she's still trying new things.
Yeah.
I find it's funny because when you get to a certain age, you have so much history to you. I mean, you don't have as much as much going forward as you had going back. But don't you? I look at that a little differently now. It's like, that accumulation of experience, right, informs your opinion of the world and also your opinion of yourself, right? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. So I can definitely see now why sometimes older people get more immature in some regards, because they just don't give a crap anymore. And some days I really, really understand that. I really, really do.
Yes, it can go anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's a lot of wisdom.
There's a lot of wisdom, experience, and if you're still out there and you're still living, you're still growing, and it really doesn't matter what age you are.
Yes, yeah, and Stella Ryman is a character that's growing. She's struggling to get herself back on her feet because she kind of went to this old age home to die. She had no future, and then she discovers she does have a future. She didn't die, and there's things going on in the care home. Other residents that are friends or enemies. Talk about cliques. Well, when you're in that situation, it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So things go on in there.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. No. And I hope I never. I hope I don't live in a home for that reason. I despise cliques.
Well, there are different kinds of homes. This one has problems.
Taking care of this, or are they just gone to the bathroom?
She just went. She'll be right back.
Yes.
Just be right back.
Oh, yeah.
After reading.
Is that okay? Come back to her. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We now return to our regularly scheduled interview, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So this hasn't been too painful for you, has it?
No, this has been good. You're good.
Yeah, okay, I'm good.
You're very chatty.
I'm a loquacious bachelor. What can I say? But anyways, which tells us an interesting point. Jam has a book. Mm-hmm. Mel has a book. Mm-hmm. So do you have a book coming out?
I don't have a book coming out. I have a lot of short stories. I have a short story in every issue of the magazine. And I have some short stories. There's one here in Tesseracts right in front of us. There's one coming out in Analog soon.
So you're more comfortable in the shorter.
That is what I'm comfortable publishing right now. I do have novels that I work on, and none of them are ready.
That's totally a fair thing.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gonna make you choose between your children. You might actually just slap.
Oh, which one of my favorite? The one I'm working on right now is always the one.
Is always
if it wasn't your favorite, you'd throw it away, right? You have to be pursuing something that elusive moment of meaning that is there somewhere. If you just keep working on that story.
I have a super tough question for you, but it's an interesting one. Perfection. Or progression?
Progression, yes. You're asking me which one I prefer, or
well, which one do you pursue? Because see, I think a big trap a lot of writers get into is the idea of perfection. Yeah. I think actually that's a terrible idea. I mean, we all want to be better, and there's definitely something to be said to always strive for that.
Yes. Yeah.
However. Yeah. Would you really want to be perfect? Because I mean, there's nowhere for you to grow at that point, and that's a very important thing because to me it's like I had a thought. I was like, why isn't the world perfect? And it occurred to me that the answer was because if the world was perfect, we would have no discomfort. If there was no discomfort, we would not change. And if we would not change, we could not become something like something more than what we are, right? And so perfection, I think, is a death sentence, right? Right?
Well, yes, it's stasis.
It's stasis, right?
Yeah.
Whereas progression,
Yeah.
right, is like
Growth
okay,
and movement.
it's a movement. Now,
Yeah.
you might stumble, you might fall, and because the world is because that is the price of an imperfect world is you screw up. But even in your mistakes, sometimes mistakes aren't really mistakes at all. One of the coolest mistakes of all time is chocolate chip cookies. It was an accident.
And we all know how important chocolate chip cookies are.
Exactly.
My life would not be the same without chocolate chip cookies.
And Ellen over there is actually nodding her head. So
Nodding enthusiastically.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, most people give the example of penicillin, but no, chocolate chip cookies, I think that's more important.
No. Who wants penicillin? Penicillin's just not cool. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important, but it's not cool.
It's chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, chocolate chip. Yes.
Yes. So I guess progression versus perfection.
Yeah.
Each story, it's funny being an editor, each story gets to a further state of progression where you get happier with it, hopefully, with each revision. And I guess the good thing about getting it published is you say, I'm done with it. Now, in the modern technology, because things are reissued or revised, and if you self-publish, you can always go back and fix it a bit more. Probably lends itself for perfectionists giving themselves headaches trying to, do another edition that's even better.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like where I'm thinking is like, there comes a point where it's like there are things in these I cringe at, not
Yes.
because I've gotten better since
You've
I've
gotten better, so what do you do?
right, but on the same token, so I'm going to use a Terry Pratchett example here, The Carpet People.
Okay.
He rewrote that novel, but that was one of his hardest challenges. He actually wrote an intro at the beginning. He said the hardest thing I had to respect was 14-year-old Terry Pratchett, who wrote this when he was 14. Because that guy
was doing his best.
But not only was he doing his best, have you ever tried to draw a stick figure a 5-year-old draws? You can't do it as well. Do you know why?
Why?
Because you're not putting the same heart into it the 5-year-old is. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You know more, and you're knowledgeable, and you might
You're
be
telling yourself this looks like crap, and then
Yeah. Whereas there's someone who's just drawing for the first time, or someone who's just
they're
seeing
excited
it.
about
They're
it.
not only excited, they're in it fully.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. They're in it fully.
a good example.
You cannot duplicate that, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, I have some older stories that, in fact, we printed one of them, that I went back and I trimmed it, up a little bit, cleaned it up, but I didn't actually want to change it, even though I could see some errors in it, because it was that voice of that time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And no matter how good you are now, you can't copy that voice.
No, and there's something genuine about that. You don't want to erase it.
No, it's a really
like the stick figures on the fridge. I mean, Mom is never going to get rid of that stick figure, right?
No,
It needs too much time.
and not only that, he makes that same drawing at 10 years old. He can't do it.
Yeah, it won't.
He can't.
Yeah.
And that's something. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
Right, and that you have to respect. So that's the other flip side to me about progression. It's just like there's a point you have to put it down, because it's not about being right anymore. It's about the spirit of what that work actually was.
Yeah, it is the spirit of what that work is. It comes through.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I like that answer. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I think I could be wrong here. I think we have a decent interview here.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Deep breath. Thank God it's over.
We did it.
We did it. So there's one last thing I need you to do though.
Okay.
There's actually two last things I need you to do.
All right.
So the first thing is I want you to tell me what you've released recently. It can be pulp literature.
Okay.
All right. It could also be a short story that's coming out, like something. It's just something of yours.
Okay.
Right. And number 2, how people can find you.
Okay, great. I just turned a story for Pulp Literature into the copy editor, and it's called Waking Up Black. It will be in the next issue, coming out in August, but at any point you can get a story of mine from the Pulp Literature website. That's PULP, like pulp and paper, literature.com.
Okay. And do you have like a Twitter, Instagram?
I sort of do.
You
but
sort of.
go to the website. Jen is so much better at social media than I am. Someday, maybe by the time you hear this, I'll be nice and famous and I'll have hired someone to do my social media for me because it's...
So you gotta get a little bot with this
Well, I'd rather be reading a book. Yeah,
There's nothing.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hold on a second here.
Did that work? Did it record?
It totally. And that was my conversation with Susan Pieters. Susan has a story every time a Pulp Literature issue comes out. They're really fun. The last one I read actually put a little bit of a smile on my face, Robin Hood. It definitely made me grin. Also a little terrifying, but that's just the way it works out. But yeah, check out Pulp Literature, sign up for it, join their Patreon page. That would be great. Magazines like this should be supported at all times, and I think this is a good way to do it. So I'm going to talk about a little quick again about Sultry Summer. There was one negative to it, just one, and that was the fact that I was originally going to do a live cast with it from the murder room. And yes, it is definitely a murder room. I'm sorry. Just after it was told me that that's how I see it. So the mall we were at, unfortunately, did not have a wireless service of any kind. And so a mobile option, if could have been possible, had I brought some equipment. But again, who was I supposed to know that the Wi-Fi, this is the only mall without a Wi-Fi. But so what's going to happen is next week, as a result, I'm going to be airing all parts of Sultry Summer. It'll be Sultry Summer theme. The guests will be listed. There'll be on average of 3 guests per episode. So you're probably looking at about 50-minute episodes, and it'll be really fun. And that'll be next week. And then right after that, there will be Alicia Bear. I'll be talking about the latest issue of I'm Here With magazine. And then the Creative Inc. Podcast will continue from here. I got still some really cool guests coming up. Dwayne Clayton, Ellen Michelle, Graham Darling, name a few, and Jonathan. Man, I don't have his last name in front of me. But yeah, like I said, there's some really, really cool authors coming up, and I had a blast talking with each and every one of them. So they will be appearing in about 2 weeks. But until then, enjoy the Sultry Summer. That was a lot of fun. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. So if you want to support this podcast, you can do it in a number of different ways. The Canadian Science Fiction and Fantasy Association has released their photo package. You can vote for this podcast to win the Aurora Award. It is definitely qualified for, which is fan-related work. You can do that right now. That'd be great. If not me, support any of the other people there. They're all amazing. Honestly, it was truly an honor to be nominated. So go check out the Grand Prix, the Pre-Auroras, the Canadian Science Fiction and Fantasy Association. Check them out. You can support me directly by subscribing to this podcast either here or on iTunes. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteloresco. You can buy my books, The Watcher, Storm Dancer, Wandering God, courtesy of Mirror World Publishing. You can get that wherever books are sold. You can go check out my website, jpenteloresco.wordpress.com. I think that's everything for now. But no matter what you do, stay inspired, follow your dreams. Good things will happen to you. See you next time, guys.
Josh.